My generation was the GameCube. I'm getting old now. I feel like the new generation doesn't even know what the GameCube is. Oh, man. I miss the GameCube. You know what? We can still connect on that. Remember when games were, like, designed to be finished products that you got in a box and didn't require you to spend 10 hours downloading? You put the disc in a machine, and then you played a game to completion, and it was like a finished product. Remember those days? Still have my GameCube? Keep that shit. That's worth some money. Dude, honestly, I wonder if, you know, as there's so much scrutiny toward modern consoles, especially PlayStation, but Xbox and Nintendo are getting it too. As there's so much scrutiny, there could be so much money made by re-releasing older games. But it's sad that so many companies don't want to, you know? If you released like an actual quality standalone console that could just run, like if PlayStation released the PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 6 and were like, a big selling point of this console is that you can play all the games PlayStation 1 through PlayStation 3 built into the system for free. If they just did that, that would ironically be a huge selling point. That would cause people to buy it. Like, you could do that. Like if Nintendo on the Switch 2 said a selling point of the Switch 2 is that you can play every game from the N64 or the GameCube built into it, that would get more people to buy it. I'd play like classic Animal Crossing and what other games did I play on the GameCube? Mario Sunshine. I loved Mario Sunshine. I still love Mario Sunshine. I still go back and play that on emulators. Oh, but that's the other issue. The problem is now, if Nintendo or PlayStation or Sony or Microsoft, if they do re-release a lot of their classic games, in terms of the quality of the product, they're going to be competing with free products from teams such as, you know, Mupen 64, Dolphin, these teams that have been working for free for decades, you know? Like, these teams, like, have been making free products on free labor, sure, but they've been going for so long that the quality of the product is... And Nintendo's going to have to compete with them and convince people to buy a console. You know, that was the big problem when Sony tried to release that shitty PlayStation 1 emulator that in a box. Nobody wanted to actually buy it. It got mocked relentlessly because the emulation system they used was super outdated and shitty. And it's like, there's better versions you can get online for free. That's why it got mocked so widely, among other reasons. That's just the fact that it was shit in general. But, you know, they're competing with free products. Well, you hire them. Well, okay, Saul, you see, the problem is, you're not thinking like a corporation. You're trying to make sense. You're not trying to make money. You're trying to make sense. You're trying to make a quality product that a consumer would want to buy. That's not the corporate way these days. What are you doing? No. You're totally off base here. You're totally off base here. You're trying, you see, you're making sense, and that's not what corporations do. Oh. I mean, I guess Nintendo's not an American corporation. I guess they practically are fucking now. They have some Japanese influence, but we'll see how it goes. You know, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. I don't have a lot of faith in these companies, honestly, which sucks. It sucks to say that I don't have faith in Nintendo anymore, you know? For all the great products they've made that have impacted me on a personal level, that have impacted my life, it sucks to say I have no faith in Nintendo to make good products anymore. You know, the Switch was okay. Like, it's been long enough now, we can admit it, right? The Switch was just okay. I'm sorry. Like, the peripherals were kind of cool on, like, launch. I remember everybody who bought it being like, whoa, you can just, like, go and play, like, anywhere. Like, I tried using it with friends. Like, practically, the screen is way too small to play with friends. Way too small to play party games with friends. Even playing solo. It's a decent mobile console. It's too big and bulky to be a mobile console. And let's be honest here. 9 out of 10 times when you're playing the Switch, you know, you're playing it on your home you're playing it on your home TV. So it being a 1080, so it being maxed at 1080p sucks. Because 9 times out of 10 when you're playing it is at home. The only time that like the most frequent time, and you know, Switch owners, we can be honest about this now. 9 times out of 10, if you take that thing out of the stupid dock, you're not going to work. You're not going somewhere. You're not going on the train because it's going to get stolen. You're on the fucking toilet. Half the time. Like, if I ever actually took the Switch, I no longer own a Switch. But half the time, if I took it off that dock, it was because, oh, I gotta poop. I'm in the middle of a 16-hour gaming session. I gotta take a shit, and I don't want to interrupt it. That was half the fucking reason. Half the fucking reason. No one takes the Switch out. Like, no one does that. It's too bulky. It's not convenient to put in your pocket, like a Game Boy. You know, Nintendo should just focus on a mobile gaming division and then having a console gaming division. The Switch was just okay. It wasn't good enough at either. And I think the Switch 2, I think the sales are going to reflect that. They don't have the hype this time. They just don't, you know? I've never owned a Nintendo product and never will. Just finished Pokemon and Sword. What do you mean you've never owned a Nintendo product? You just finished Pokemon. What are you talking about? Wait, is that Nintendo? Pokemon's Nintendo, isn't it? Isn't it? Am I crazy? I'm pretty sure. Am I crazy? Yeah, the Switch was okay. But if the Steam Deck can play the same games and on Steam and PC games, who would buy the Switch? I gotta be honest, I think the Steam Deck is gonna learn the same lesson. I mean, Valve has had their own issues with peripherals and console. I think if you want to make a good mobile console in 2025, yeah, PC emulators. I get it. You know, everyone keeps saying PC emulators are the future of mobile gaming. I don't think that's true. I think the future of mobile gaming, make a system that acts and folds up like a razor. Folds up like a... Remember the last time you thought about the fucking Nokia... Was it Nokia Razor? Or the Game Boy SD. Remember the last time you thought about the Game Boy SD? What a great design for a console, where it actually protected the screen and the buttons while it was in your pocket, while being incredibly easy to transport. Have something that size. I don't need to play Skyrim on mobile. I don't need to play AAA games. I honestly think the worst thing the Steam Deck is doing, and the ground they're retreading that they're having an issue with, that's the same mistake Nintendo made with the Switch. They're so focused on putting AAA games on a mobile screen, and the consoles are too bulky, they're not mobile enough, and it just doesn't work. They need to stop doing that. Just have an indie gaming console. Like, I don't need to play AAA games on mobile. Honestly, AAA games usually don't even look good on a screen that small. Why play Skyrim when you can play Blades or Castles? Okay. I mean, Hotline Miami, you know? Or any number of, like, good indie games. Like, I don't need to play Satisfactory on mobile, but I could play Factorio, you know? I could play, what are some other great indie games that would be phenomenal? Just making it, like, Steam should not make it, should not try to advertise it as, you can play AAA games on mobile. No, the consoles are too bulky. They're going to have to learn the same lesson the Switch 2 is going to inevitably learn. That it's just too much. Stardew Valley! Put Stardew Valley on it, you know? Which is now, I heard, is now beating Portal as the #1 reviewed game on Steam now. Hilarious. And well warranted. I think Stardew Valley is that good. I think it's better than Portal, personally. You know? Just make it an indie gaming console. Or classic games. There's so many good classic PC games on Steam, you know? What other stuff is there? Like, I don't need to play Total War on... Oh, I don't need to play Total War Warhammer on a Steam Deck, but what about the classic Total War games? Make those run, you know? That would be fine. And it would actually diversify your audience. It would encourage the Steam buyer base to play games they might not otherwise, you know? Most Steam users have a ton of older games or smaller indie games sitting in their inventories they never play. You know, if you make a Steam Deck that's just for indie gaming specifically, that's small and convenient and you can genuinely take with you and put in your pocket, that focuses on indie titles, you could actually get your base to play games they might not otherwise. I don't need to play The Witcher 3, but what are some other... there's other games. There's other good indie games that are fun that would be fun to play. I don't need Baldur's Gate 3. Actually, you probably could get the BioShock games on there. They're old enough. You probably could do that. Cook Serve Delicious. Great indie game. What else is there? What else do I have? The original Fallout games. The original Fallout games. Those would be great for mobile. Those would be great for a mobile console. Maybe even Fallout 3 and New Vegas. They're over a decade old. They might run on a tiny mobile console these days. Fez. Great mobile game. Great game. Great game. I'd play that on mobile. What's another one? Gunpoint. Another phenomenal indie game. Another classic. A Hat in Time. It's a little newer, but still, that could probably run. It's not like a super intensive game. Again, Hotline Miami. That would be great for a mobile game. What else is there? Kingdom. Great for a mobile game. Like, just focus, like, Steam should not try to pitch the Steam Deck as being a console where you can play AAA games. Like, just make it an indie console. Not only would you get your buying base to try games they don't normally, but it would also, you'd also be able to scale it down to make the console cheaper and actually mobile. You know, you could make the console small enough that people could actually, like, use it. People could actually put it in their pocket, which is what you want from mobile games, you know? Especially when mobile game systems have to compete with the phone, you know? The iOS Store and Google Play Store are, like, notorious cesspools of crap these days, which helps a lot with the mobile gaming space and trying to pitch a mobile gaming console. But that could change any day now, you know? Stardew, Terraria, Minecraft have mobile ports. I know, but people don't use them, though. I think people would still... if you made a mobile console that was cheap enough, though, people would still buy it. I think people would still buy a dedicated game. A dedicated mobile gaming device. I think they would. I really do. Core Keeper, Graveyard Keeper, all the Legacy of Kain and Blood Omen games. Yeah, Painkiller, Max Payne, those games from back in the day. Hell yeah. Love Fallout, but I know from playing it that newer systems don't play well with the original Fallouts. Okay, well, I mean, they could figure something out. I mean, there's, even if those games specifically don't work, what about Wasteland? What about the new Wasteland games? Those aren't super intensive. What about those? Those could be cool. Those would be fun. And there's plenty of other, like, top-down, isometric, you know, exploration games you could put on there. Diablo! Yes! The original Diablos. Activision Blizzard would never be cool with that. No, those guys are too money hungry. But great point. Yeah, there's so many good games that Steam could put onto a mobile gaming console that are not AAA games. Just focus on that. Make us something that's genuinely affordable, genuinely mobile, and stop worrying about trying to create the ability to play AAA games on a mobile console. No, don't do that. People are fine with older games. Hell, like, one of the biggest, not in the sphere of gaming, one of the biggest trends online right now is videos of music artists playing in small venues before they were famous. You know? That's been one of the biggest things online these days. People are, especially in the age, AI has left people so jaded. AI, and honestly, fake game trailers have been so notorious the last few years. Every fucking time I get on Instagram Reels, there's like, this new game is gonna revolutionize this, and it turns out to be something that's fucking fake. Every fucking time now. People are so jaded. Like, if you made a console that was focused on small indie titles and older games, Bean, I told you to get out of here. I'm gonna fucking tase your taint. Get out of here. You can play on your phone. Okay, but people don't, though. No one plays on their phone. Have you played it? How many hours have you sunk into that version of Diablo? Like, I know there's mobile versions of those games. I know that Knights of the Old Republic is available on mobile, and I've played like 5 minutes of it, and then I switch over to the PC version, because why the fuck would I ever play on my phone, you know? My phone is the Netflix device that I use on the toilet. I don't want to play games on it. I don't see my phone as a gaming device, in large part because the iOS and Android stores have become such cesspits. People don't see it. I think even with many of those games having mobile ports, I still think people would buy a dedicated console, a dedicated mobile game console. I really think they would. I really think they would. I do. You can connect controllers to your phone, but do you, though? Has anyone in this chat actually done that, though? I've used a controller with a Kindle, but do you actually do that? Kids play Fortnite and COD like that if they're poor. Kids in, like, the fucking Philippines do. Kids who can't afford, like, a PC do. Not really kids here, though. And you can get a console. If they can play it on their... Get out... Bean! We've talked about this! I know that COD Mobile is a thing. I know that Fortnite Mobile is a thing. But, like, again, do you do that? Has anyone in this chat done that? I can connect a controller to a TI-86. Yeah. Like, does anyone actually do that, though, outside of, like, kids in the Philippines who can't afford both a TV and a console, and also the power is spotty, you know? On the go, I mean, I saw clips of... You've seen clips of kids. Have you seen kids do that? That's what I'm trying to ask, though. Look, I'm not trying to be a smartass here. I'm just pushing back on the idea that, like, I do think people would buy a dedicated mobile gaming console with good peripherals that is just used, especially in these days. When people are trying to get away from their phones, you know, if I could have both a dumb phone in my pocket and also a little Steam console that I can play Hotline Miami and Diablo on, I would buy that. If it's like $100 and like has really, really good reviews and is genuinely a great product from Valve, I would buy it. I would do that. Finish God of War on my PS Vita. Wasn't there a dedicated God of War version for PS Vita, though? I mean, look, that's fine. That's fine. Again, I feel like you guys are missing what I'm trying to say, though. I'm not saying that, you know, that those mobile versions don't exist, but I think people would buy it. I think people would buy... I mean, it would sell better than the Steam Deck. All I'm saying is there should be a version of the Steam Deck that's more affordable and focuses on games that are more able to run on a small console and would look better on a small screen, you know, because a lot of indie games don't try to focus on super specific graphics. They try to have good art style, you know? The Long Dark. I'd play The Long Dark on a mobile. On something the size of maybe a little larger than a Game Boy SD. I'd play The Long Dark on that. That sounds fun. I would love that. I'd play Factorio on that. Again, maybe not satisfactory, but that's fine. I am okay with not playing AAA games all the time. I gotta be honest, I'm kind of tired of AAA games. I want to give me a good indie game that does something weird and experimental. You know? Come on. I'm okay with that. You know, do that on mobile. I'm okay with the mobile and AAA and the mobile and the home gaming markets being two different things. I'm okay with that. I want that to be the case, honestly. I think that's better. Personally. Yeah, Chains of Olympus, yeah. I did have a controller on my TI-85 to play The Legend of Link to the Past, but I was bored in class. Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, I remember back when I was working a job at a hotel for the night shift. So, and what I always tell people about the hotel night shift is that it's extremely boring until it's not. So I had a lot of downtime in that job. So I had a Kindle that I brought to work with me, and it had Bluetooth. So I had a little, I could probably still have it around here somewhere. Yeah, this little like SNES-looking controller is from a third-party company called 8BitDo, and they make great peripherals. So I was literally sitting at the desk at the hotel playing Banjo-Kazooie because I had an N64 emulator on it, on this Kindle. I think it was like Mupen64 was the app. Got an 8BitDo controller. Hell yeah, they're cool. They're really high quality. I have another one too. I've got this one, and then I've also got another Super Nintendo inspired controller from them. Yeah, they're super cool. They're really, really high quality. That one just sits right there. I love using that. I used to use it as my Switch controller before I sold that. Yeah, 8BitDo is great. But I would literally just be like on my Kindle running Mupen 64 and some emulated games. I'd be playing. I played through the entirety of Banjo-Kazooie. I played. Oh, I also had a PlayStation emulator. I played all 3 of the original Spyro the Dragon games, just sitting behind the desk at my job because I was bored. It was so great. It was so great. I kind of miss that job sometimes, but not that much.